The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's where we all begin. Welcome to Lazy Dog Typewriters.
"500 years ago, the Spanish conquistadors explored the New World in search of gold, in pursuit of conquest for Spain. As they explored deeper into the jungles of South America, they were captivated by stories the natives told of a wealthy king, so rich that he literally covered himself in gold dust. Then he offered gifts to a goddess and submerged himself in a mysterious lake. The Spanish were joined in their lust for gold by the British adventurer Sir Walter Raleigh. Numerous expeditions were launched to discover El Hombre Dorado, the Golden Man, later shortened to El Dorado. He was never found until now.
Howdy folks, and welcome to Lazy Dog Typewriters, where we have found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The gold that eluded all of the conquistadors, as Kevin mentioned. And what you see in front of you now is an El Dorado, a Royal El Dorado, which of course is based on the Royalite model, which itself is based on the Hombre Traveler. This particular machine was made in 1960, and it sports a very pretty two-tone black and gold paint scheme. So let's go over it. First of all, this was a budget model designed to be an ultra-portable, lightweight machine. It does not have a full keyboard. It does not have a dedicated number 1 or exclamation mark. Your margin release is in the upper left-hand side, and your backspace is on the right, and that is reversed from some other machines, so it can be a little bit confusing. Of course, you have your shift and shift lock, which you've engaged, and one of the things you don't have is a bichrome lever selector switch. So you just have a single monochrome option on this model, and I'll come over here. We do have our ability to go into freewheeling. Come over and zoom in for you. So your line selector switch here, you've got 0, 1, 1.5, and 2. And I appreciate the 1.5, as I've mentioned before. It's my favorite selection. Your carriage return, platen knobs. Your margins are set here with your ruler indicating what position you're in. You just push and slide to set your margins. You have a nice paper bail here, which is easy to manipulate with both handles on both sides. Your carriage release lever is here. You can see a chance to hit bell. There's our bell. And your tension lever selector is over here. Push that forward and you release the tension on the platen so you can adjust your paper as you fed it in. Let's take a look inside. The cover, which is kind of a gull wing cover, pops off. Here you can see the Royal logo in this really pretty shape. Take a look inside of a freshly cleaned Royalite El Dorado, and you can see it's just a very simple layout. Your auto reverse mechanism here, your ribbon vibrator here, as Kevin is showing you. Over on the left hand side we have here a carriage lock, which you just put down and it will hold the carriage in place when you're ready for storage or shipment of your machine. So overall, very simple, very direct model aimed at travelers, I suppose, since it was born from the Hombre Traveler, and also students. Alton Gansky mentions, and I saw his video, that this was his first typewriter given to him by his parents, so we give a shout out to him for setting the path and showing us the way on the El Dorado. Let's take a look at another example of an El Dorado. We have on the right the beautiful black and gold El Dorado, and on the left the El Dorado Deluxe. And what you can see has happened is the underlying mechanics have not been changed, but the body style was dramatically changed. This El Dorado Deluxe came out a little bit later. It sports a very pretty silver and dark gray body paint scheme, and it has picked up a couple of extra features. So like the Royalite 64, which came out just before it, we now have a ribbon color selector switch. So red, white, and blue, so stenciled is the white position. And of course, the most notable change is that it sports the Futura body style. You can kind of think of this as a squashed Futura, and we'll roll in a picture of what the Futura body style looks like with this corrugated panel in the front, but much taller. But this was contemporary with the El Dorado Deluxe. And continuing to round out our comparison set, we have here the aforementioned Royalite 64, which was, appropriately enough, sold in 1964, and this one made in 1963, sort of like a car coming out a year early for the name. And it has, most notably, as I mentioned, just like in the El Dorado, you have the addition of the ribbon color selector switch, which is a really nice addition to the Royalite lineup. So in behind it, you can see that the 64 came with a nice gray case. This was the El Dorado's case, which was black. This particular example has seen better days. And then we have, matching the El Dorado Deluxe, we have another case. It's also in black. In just a second, we'll take a look at the standard Royalite. And pretty much the full spectrum of Royalite and its descendants, they're descendants of the Hallberg Traveler. We have the Royalite 64, the El Dorado, and the El Dorado Deluxe. And here we have a standard Royalite in the gray and white paint scheme. The very earliest Royalites had a green keyboard layout, which I have yet to find in the wild, but someday we shall. And here is the standard traditional Royalite case. They also came in a case just like the one that's in black, but in the same color brown. I believe those were the slightly later variants than this Royalite. This was about the 62, 63, I believe. Just to give you an overall perspective on the different cases that they had out there. All of these Royalites, no matter which one you find, have very hard platens, and the way you get around that is by using a backing sheet or by using multiple sheets of paper. But I find that a backing sheet made of plastic, in this case a sheet protector, sold from the local Japanese dollar store called Daiso, which Kevin is a huge fan of, works out really well. You can buy a pack of these for an inexpensive cost, and it's soft enough to curl around the platen, but also stiff enough to hold the paper and stiff enough to move through the platen without too much difficulty. It really is a little godsend for these hard rock platens. I use them on a lot of different machines, so just a little pro tip there. So the overall pros and cons of this machine: one, this particular edition is kind of rare-ish, we'll say, really pretty, black and gold. How can you argue with the mythical Spanish conquistadors' goal of finding the city of El Dorado? Really, it was the man, El Hombre El Dorado, but eventually turned into an idea of a whole city paved with gold. This would have been the typewriter I'm sure they were looking to find when they got there. And they would have liked it probably because it's very portable, very lightweight, and gives them everything that they need without too much that they don't. The typing feel on the Royalite, the El Dorado Deluxe, the Royalite 64 is all the same because it's the same internal machinery. And it's very comparable to the other ultra portables like the Skywriter of its era. And it's not as robust as a fine, larger machine like an Olympia or Smith Corona Model 5, it might have been, or even a Galaxy, something along that era. But it's very portable. It focuses on what you need to get done, and they're very serviceable machines. We overall like them. We definitely like the looks of them. They're one of their strong suits, and we hope you've enjoyed this look at the mythical El Dorado. Goodbye.
Please like, subscribe, and share, and don't forget to ring the bell.